It's almost 11 this morning and I'm just leaving the Mount Algo shelter. I got a late start because it rained and rained and rained most of the night last night, and everything was wet and I wasn't sure how far I wanted to go today, so I kind of laid around also waiting to hear news about my mom's recovery from her surgery yesterday, which sounds like it's a little rocky but going well. And so I decided I'm going to do 10 miles today to a campsite, and looks like the terrain, of course you can never really tell until you get there, but looks like the first 5 miles will be up and down, and then the next 5 or so will be pretty flat, but that could mean that it's all rocky, just don't know. And I'm bypassing Kent. A lot of people are going into resupply, but since I just got back on the trail I don't need to do that. And yeah, so looking forward to some sunshine later in the day and a good hike. I didn't video yesterday afternoon very much because it got really stormy. In fact, I was on an exposed ridge scrambling over some rocks when the thunderstorms hit. And it was only the second time that I've kind of taken shelter during a storm, but I looked up and saw a big ridge that I had to go over and decided it would be better to wait it out. So I crouched under a rock with my poncho and probably looked pretty funny sitting there, but didn't want to take a chance with the lightning. Being that it was a pretty bad storm, but it didn't last too long, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and I was back on my way. But it was super rocky and kind of challenging for me with the pain that I'm having in my foot left over from the trip into Harper's Ferry. But it's getting better. It's a little swollen, but the rest of my foot pain seems to be doing a lot better. I've got the insoles now, and they made a big difference yesterday, so I'm happy about that. And hopefully this little bump will heal quickly, and I will be in good shape for hiking the rest of the way to the Maine. Just came out of the woods into a field, and you can see there's clouds hanging over the mountains that way, and I believe I'm going that direction. It looks like it, but there is blue sky over there. Well, hopefully the blue sky's heading my way. I have a bit of a climb this morning. It's 400 feet, which doesn't sound like much, but when you see all those rocks, you know it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Well, I'm only halfway to the top of that 400-foot climb, and found a rock, and I felt like I needed to take a break. For some reason, with all the humidity the past couple days, I've been finding myself get kind of dizzy and be really super thirsty. So I'm trying to take in as many fluids as I can, and I think I must have just gotten a little bit out of shape in those few days that I had off. So hopefully my strength will come back and I'll feel better. But I'm still climbing bit by bit. Whoops, there goes my pack. Sorry, I was getting bit by a mosquito, and yeah, just let go. There it is on the ground. Oops. So anyway, yeah, it's always challenging to get back on the trail after being off for a little while, but I'm doing the best I can, and hopefully I'll be feeling good and picking up miles soon. Well, I made it up and over that peak that I was struggling with, and been going down for a little bit, and I found this nice view. Just had lunch down at a nice little creek and soaked my foot and refilled on my water, and now I'm heading up this climb. This is just part of it, I'm sure, but it's pretty steep, and it's called Caleb's Peak. And I passed a group coming down. One of the guys said that the downside, the opposite side, is very steep, more like rock climbing than hiking. So that should be interesting to see. And then one of the ladies in the other group said that there is a nice view up here. So with the sun shining up there, way up high, I might actually be able to enjoy that view. Well, this is the view from the top of Caleb's Peak. And I met a man up at the top here who obviously was a day hiker. He had a cane, so he headed down a side trail, so I'm sure there's another way to get up here and enjoy this view besides the AT with all its fun and challenges. But it's very rocky here, which is actually a good thing. I know it might be a challenge going down from what I've heard, but it gave me a chance to spread out my gear to dry out, and hopefully it won't take long. My sleeping pad is actually almost dry, and I believe that my tent is almost dry too, at least that side, so I'm going to flip it over. It doesn't take very long when you've got sunshine. I have arrived at St. John's Ledges, and it looks like a pretty steep downhill from there. I am not going to get that close to the edge, but I have a feeling I may when I start heading down. We'll see. This is the start of the descent. So far it looks pretty tame, but I have read and I was told this morning that this is pretty tough, so I'm a little anxious, but every time I freak myself out about something, it's usually not as bad as I imagine, so I am crossing my fingers that that's the case today. Now this is getting a little more intimidating. Oh, this is a lot of rocks and a lot of scrambling on my butt. and just picking my way down as best I could. But interestingly, I just passed a group, probably, I don't know, 10 people climbing up, and I don't know if they were just a guided hike or some kind of a training class. They didn't even have rock climbing shoes on, just regular old tennis shoes, but they were heading up and asked me if I was a thru-hiker and wished me well, which is always sweet, and told me that things get a little bit better up ahead, so I am looking forward to that. And so far, although it has been quite a challenge coming down, not as bad as Dragon's Tooth, so that's my benchmark right now. So as I was coming down a little further, I heard some noise and I looked off in the distance and I saw something black moving, and I thought, oh man, maybe that's a bear. Weird. And then I got a little closer and I realized it was a man in a black t-shirt just sitting on a rock, and he was actually with the group that went up. And he told me that they're from this place called Camp Getaway, where they get a long weekend to go do some cool stuff, and they'd actually biked from the camp here to the trailhead and then hiked up the trail. And he was feeling a little hot and tired, which I can't blame him with the weather, so he was waiting while the rest of the group ran up the hill and scrambled up those rocks that I just came down. Connecticut seems to love their signs. This one is beautifully framed, Appalachian Trail natural area, and there's another one down there which I think probably says the same thing. And everything is well signed. There's signs for the privies, the signs for the trails. When I came out right down there, there was a little green sign with white lettering that said AT North this way, and I understand we have about a mile road walk, so I'm off. And I also wanted to share something else. When I was talking to the group climbing up the St. John's, well, the rocks that lead up to St. John's Ledges, one of the guys asked me, he's like, so, are you still loving it as a thru-hiker? And I said, you know what, some days. And some days I wonder what the heck I was thinking. And other days are perfectly awesome. And he said, well, how's today? And I said, you know what, today's kind of in between. The rocks are pretty cool, and I'm happy when I can say that. I don't mind the rock scrambles as much as the little rocky parts like I've encountered going down into Harper's Ferry. So, but yeah, it is interesting because some of the wonder that you have at the very beginning does tend to wear off after a while, because you get used to being on the trail and not everything is new every day, although there's plenty that is new every day. And so it's kind of interesting how your attitude about and mentality about the hike changes over time. I believe that this is the Housatonic River. I'm not sure the correct way to pronounce it, but looks like I'll be walking alongside it for the next mile or so. It's really very pretty. I'm off the road now and back on the traditional AT. There's another nice Connecticut sign saying footpath only. And here we go. One more lovely Connecticut sign for the day, Stewart Hollow Shelter. This is going to be my home for the night. So I am almost ready to go. It's getting close to 9 o'clock, so it's a pretty late start for me, but I woke up in a funky mood this morning. It felt like it was raining, but it was really, I think, just moisture dripping out of the trees because it's so humid, and my tent was actually not terribly wet, which is good. And so I've been trying to get myself going, and thankfully Compass and Kermit are up there, so I had breakfast, chatted with them. There is a bear box, and the trail runner that was here told me that there's bear boxes in all the shelters in Connecticut, which is awesome. And then to lift my mood a little bit, I had a funny incident. I was just getting ready to go and came out of the privy and felt something smushy in my shoe. Can't really see it now, but apparently there was a slug that I stepped on and smushed and got slug goo all over my foot, so that was pretty gross, but I got it cleaned up thankfully, and just had a good laugh because then I stepped on it and felt it. I let out a big squeal and everybody was laughing at me. So anyway, my shoes are still wet, but I'm gonna go ahead and put my insoles in, get my socks on, and get rolling for the day. So even though I started out in kind of a bummed out mood this morning, the slug incident made me laugh and put a smile on my face. And I'm actually just starting the hike, and we get to walk along the Housatonic River for a little while, and the trail's going to be kind of flat for the first mile or so. The plan today is 15 miles to a campsite and then 10 tomorrow to get into Salisbury with Compass and Kermit. We're not hiking together, but we're meeting up in the evenings, which works out well. And yeah, so I need to get back in my groove. It's a little weird jumping ahead kind of depressing to think that, I'm hiking with people who've gone the whole way, and when we get to Katahdin, they're going home, and I'm going back to hike another 500 miles or so, not quite. But that's the situation I created for myself, I guess, by being slow and by taking so many 0 days to rest my foot and that sort of thing, and there's nothing I can do about my health. I did make a commitment to myself a while back that I would put my body over my brain and try to take care of injuries as they come up, so I've been doing that. And the foot is still hurting a little bit, and I'm hoping that it gets better, but if it doesn't, I think when I get to Salisbury I might go ahead and just get an x-ray to make sure I don't have a hairline fracture from where I smashed my toe on the rocks on the way into Harper's Ferry. So fingers crossed that it'll feel better the next day or so and I won't need to do that, but if I do, I do. On a positive note, when I checked the weather this morning, not only is it a sunny day, the humidity is dropping finally. It's going to get down into the 70% range today, which I hope will help everything dry out. My shoes and socks are still pretty damp, and my clothes are, a little bit damp. You can lay them out in the direct sunlight, when it's warm, like I did yesterday up at that peak with all the rocks, and things dry out a little bit. But it's much better when the humidity is lower to get things dry quickly. So I am looking forward to being dry later today, and hopefully it'll stay that way for the next couple of days. I don't think there's any rain in the forecast till Monday afternoon or Tuesday, which would be a very nice little break. This is the flat trail I'm starting with this morning. I know once I get off this little section, there'll be lots of ups and downs today, but I don't think anything nearly as rigorous as what I encountered yesterday. So just, I think, hiking up, hiking down, hiking up, hiking down, a few hundred feet at a time. I have left the river and I am now hiking by some fields, and I'm not sure what that white thing is over there. Looks like a giant milk jug, but I'm guessing it's some kind of a storage, maybe like a silo. So I just came across and had to cross this creek here. There were lots of warnings that the stepping stones were out and it was tricky crossing, but it really wasn't nearly as bad as they said. We've had several ups and downs today. Most of them just 400 and 500 feet, but they're steep and rocky. It looks like the trail crews have about been out putting some new stairs in lately, so I don't know if that helps or hurts. I guess it depends if you're going up or down. Well, I just came out through that little crevasse. There's some steps leading up there. It's very narrow and hard to climb with your pack on. I'm finding that in Connecticut you really have to be on your toes to keep up with where the blazes are, especially when there are lots of rocks. It's easy to miss them, but I don't know if you can see way down there on that tree. There's a white blaze there.